Well, airports throughout Atlantic Canada continue to experience sky-high losses and need help to survive. The association, representing 12 airports in the Atlantic region, says the 14-day quarantine rule is smothering the industry, and, arrival testing protocols for domestic passengers would really help resuscitate it. Manette Pasher is the executive director of the Atlantic Airports Association. She joins us this morning. Good morning, Ms. Pasher.
Good morning.
Why do you think it would help to test domestic passengers when they arrive at airports in our region?
Yeah, well, in our region, we've been doing the 14-day quarantine process since really the pandemic started. It was really the only tool we had for infection control that was out there that we could manage. But now it's been 8 months, and there's more tools in the toolbox. And Public Health Canada has approved new tests and equipment that our provinces can request to use. And really, the 14-day approach to border control is quite damaging to our economy. And it's based on really an honor-based system implementation. So, some experts say it's the poorest means of infection control. And the WHO is really calling for testing and tracing and tracking as a preferred method to move forward. So we're asking our Atlantic provinces to look at that as we have new science now and helpful new testing measures that we could move forward with.
And why is Atlantic Canada particularly vulnerable to deeper cuts when it comes to airliners that are dropping routes?
Yeah, Air Canada announced their third quarter results yesterday. And we're very encouraged to hear that the federal government is speaking with air carriers this week to talk about support for our sector. We're very vulnerable to more cuts in our region. I think, many heard last month that WestJet canceled 80% of the capacity in our region. And back in June, we lost 11 routes in our region. So we've been hit hard twice now. And if there's going to be another round of cuts coming, we know that Atlantic Canada is very vulnerable. Really, when the airline industry shrinks, it's smaller regional and rural communities that are most at risk, and that's what our region is. We need air access, it's essential, but from the air carrier perspective, we are a harder market to make money because our volumes are lower. So we have that against us, but we also have the Atlantic bubble, which these travel restrictions don't exist in the rest of the country. Countries across the world and states and provinces are moving away from the 14-day quarantine because it's so damaging economically. And as testing evolves and there's more measures and rapid testing is coming to the forefront, we have to look at these other measures as ways that we can move off of the 14-day quarantine, find ways to reduce it.
And when you mention other parts of the country, what experience have other jurisdictions had with testing and reduced quarantine times? Do you know?
Yeah, so they just announced there's been 4 studies underway at our major international airports, and those are for international traffic. But we're talking about in our region something for domestic, so just welcoming fellow Canadians or allowing fellow Canadians to visit. But on the international side, there was a study done in Toronto, McMaster Health Labs. The initial results from that came out. It showed that 1% of the people that came through were infected. So of 13,000 people that passed through the airport, there were 130 cases, and 100% of them were caught by day 7. Those were just the initial results, so we're waiting for the final results from that survey to come through. Calgary Airport, Alberta, the province of Alberta, has been a big proponent for testing as a way forward so that we don't squash our economy. And they have implemented testing protocol at the Calgary airport. It's underway. It's a pilot program to reduce the quarantine. So when someone comes in, they're tested right away. When they get the results at day 1 or day 2, then they're able to, I guess you could say a modified isolation, like they're able to move about. They have to have a mask on. They can't go in long-term care. There's restrictions with that. They report in daily on an app. And then they're tested again at day 6 or day 7. And then if that comes back negative, they're free to move about, but again, with those restrictions until day 14. So we're seeing these processes be implemented in Canada and moving forward in that way. Our provinces have said that they're watching what's happening in Calgary and will look at that pilot. But we're saying that's for international traffic, and we need something to move forward for a pilot in our region around domestic travel.
And Manette Pasher, as the executive director of the Atlantic Airports Association, is it the position of the association that the Atlantic bubble hasn't been enough for small airports in the region to, sort of look towards recovery?
Absolutely. I mean, really, the Atlantic bubble, no one would argue the health benefits that have been there for Atlantic Canadians. But, bubbles are funny things. There's only so much air left in ours. It's really smothering our economy. It's smothering our airports, and we cannot continue like this. If we don't find another approach to move forward, we could lose service to some of our rural communities. Air Canada has been serving the market in Gander since 1942. So, before Newfoundland was even part of Canada, I think we need to look at this and say, what are we at risk of here? We know Deer Lake is a 7-hour drive from St. John's. What if Deer Lake has no more mainline service in order to connect the West Coast and our rotational workers and oil workers to the rest of Canada? That is what is at stake here. If we don't find new ways forward, our industry cannot survive in this Atlantic bubble.
And what needs to happen to get these airports, that normally account for more than 46,000 jobs in the region, how do we get them back on their feet?
Yeah, I think there's a couple of pieces that need to happen here. One is our industry needs support. There's no doubt about that. We've been down 90% in traffic volumes for eight months. I don't know what business out there could survive this long. So I think, we need federal support, and our province has been so helpful in advocating for that. And we do believe that that's coming. We've seen some signals, and we're very hopeful. So that's one piece, but that's not going to help us get back to where we need to be. We really do need to see some small steps forward in terms of organic market rebound. So moving forward and having, visiting friends and relatives come home to see their families for the holidays. They've been separated for 8 months. Can we do that with testing? Can we use these testing pilots to move forward to see small numbers of people come home to see their family? Could we do that in a safe way? And that's what we're asking our provinces to look at.
Manette Pasher, Executive Director of the Atlantic Airports Association. Thanks for this.
Thanks so much.